The music stopped. My father stood up, lifted his glass, and smiled. Then he destroyed me with one sentence. My daughter has struggled with mental instability her entire life. The room froze, and the man who was supposed to protect me let go of my hand. They thought I would break. They had no idea I had already planned my escape. I grew up in a wealthy, respected family. My father controlled everything: money, reputation, and the narrative. To the outside world, he was a generous businessman. At home, he decided who I was. If I disagreed, I was emotional. If I cried, I was unstable. If I defended myself, I was mentally unwell. He'd planted that story about me for years, and my fiancé, Daniel, believed him. Daniel proposed in front of both families. It looked romantic. It wasn't. The ring? Chosen by my father. The venue? Paid for by my father. The guest list? Approved by my father. I wasn't getting married. I was being transferred. But Daniel was charming, attentive, protective, at least in public. Privately, he'd say things like, "Your dad just worries about you. You can be dramatic sometimes." The seeds were already planted. I should have known something was wrong when my father insisted on giving a speech before the vows. He said I had episodes, that Daniel was brave to accept me, that marriage would stabilize me. Guests looked at me with pity. Daniel's hand slipped from mine. Then he asked the priest to pause the ceremony. "I can't do this," he said. Just like that, he walked away. And my father didn't look shocked. He looked satisfied. Here's what they didn't know. I wasn't mentally ill. I was legally emancipated from my father's control 6 months earlier. And I had proof. Years ago, after my mother died under mysterious circumstances, I started digging. Medical records altered, therapists paid off, false prescriptions issued in my name. My father had built a paper trail to control my inheritance. He needed me labeled unstable. Because my mother's will had a condition, if I was declared mentally incompetent, my father would control everything. But my mother was smarter than him. There was a second clause. If I could prove coercion or fraud, I would inherit everything immediately, including my father's shares in the family company. He never read the fine print. I did. And I had already filed the legal motion the week before the wedding. The humiliation? It was painful. But it also gave my lawyer exactly what we needed: public defamation. 3 days after the wedding disaster, my father was served with fraud charges. The family company board launched an investigation. Bank accounts were frozen. Daniel called me. He said he was confused, that he had been manipulated. I asked him one question. When they called me mentally ill, why didn't you defend me? Silence. I hung up. The biggest twist? Daniel had known more than he admitted. He had signed a prenup written by my father. If the marriage went through and I was declared unstable, Daniel would receive financial guardianship benefits. He wasn't just naive. He was complicit. I released the signed documents. Publicly. The media picked up the story. Businessman falsifies daughter's mental health records. Wedding day breakdown exposes corporate fraud. Sponsors withdrew. Investors fled. Board members resigned. The same guests who pitied me started apologizing. But I wasn't interested in apologies. One more twist. My mother hadn't died naturally. The medical examiner reopened her case after inconsistencies surfaced in the old records. The same doctor who labeled me unstable had signed her death certificate. My father panicked, and for the first time in my life, he looked afraid. He came to see me, not as the powerful businessman, as a desperate man. "You've ruined me," he said. "No," I replied. "You ruined yourself the day you tried to erase me." The charges moved forward. Daniel lost his job when his involvement surfaced.
And I finally understood something. They didn't think I was mentally ill. They thought I was controllable.
A year later, I stood in the same venue, not as a bride, but as the new majority shareholder of the company. I funded mental health advocacy programs, real ones, in my mother's name. The guests applauded, and this time, no one questioned my sanity. Because the only thing I ever was underestimated.